And welcome back, guys, to the final round. My name is Jake. Today we got another fighter profile, and we'll be looking at former UFC and Bellator fighter, Mr. Cheick Kongo. Yes, it is Cheick Kongo. Kind of a random selection. I was just kind of going through names the other day of a couple of some of the current middleweights, and then I went back in time over a bunch of names, and then I somehow ended at heavyweights, and I went back at guys' heavyweight records, and I don't know who it was that I ended up going on. I honestly think it was. I honestly think it might have been. I honestly think it might have been Volkov, who I was going back. I think I think I was looking at Volkov's record or something. That's what Volkov's record, and I saw Cheick Kongo. Oh, Cheick Kongo. And then I saw Cheick Kongo, and then I saw King Mo. Obviously, I am gonna do a King Mo video coming up because King Mo, man, come on, dude. And actually, yeah, when you think about it, Cheick Kongo is a former Bellator champion. So, but yeah, he fought up until like 3 years ago, when he lost to Ryan Bader for it. I think it was actually for a world title actually. I think what he fought that was in Paris. You're right. It was the heavyweight world championship. Because I think they did fight earlier in Bellator. I gotta say, man, I'm gonna make a video about Ryan Bader on the Smashing Machine because he did fucking awesome, man. Where's my list? I know. Hold on. I'm right back, guys. All right, sorry, we're back, guys. I also, you know what? I'm actually going to put that in there real quick. But yes, let's get into the career of Cheick Kongo. So he had a pretty good, solid MMA record at the end of the day. Finished up 31 wins, 12 losses, 2 draws. He's got a very stacked resume, guys. I got to be honest. I looked at his resume a couple of days ago, and then before I started making this video, and man, Cheick Kongo's fought a lot of guys, and he was kind of the first real kind of, not French star, but if you go back and ask guys like Cyril Gane and Nasser Nimamov, Cheick Kongo was one of those first guys from France that, they gained a lot of popularity. He trained out of England trained out of different areas for a long part of his career, but he was a very successful fighter. I mean, his overall UFC record was, I'm looking at it now, was 11-6-1, which, not bad. His Bellator record was 13-4 and 1 no contest. So, very, very, he had a pretty good resume. So, but let's get right into it. Won't be too long of a video. Just gonna go over his career, and then obviously, when we get to the Pat Barry fight, we'll get to the Pat Barry fight. But so he started his career in 2001, and this was when, in Europe at the time, there really wasn't any actual fighting, to be honest. He suffered his first loss in 2002 to a guy named Rodney Glunder. He then had a draw to a guy named Michael Knapp. But this was, he was... How old is he now? Does it say how old he is now? All right, so he was 47 when he fought Bader 3 years ago. He's 50 now. So if he's 50 now... How old was he when he fought in 2001? Let's do the math. If he's 50 now, that was 24 years ago? 24 years ago, right? So that he would be 26 when he turned pro? 26? Back then, it was kind of the normal age for guys to turn pro. A little later than they turn pro now. And obviously had no... I think he came from, more of a kickboxing background type. He had 2 kickboxing fights in 2004. He lost to Gilbert. He lost to Gilbert Yvel, who was a really good fighter for a lot of years. He actually had he was 0-3 in the UFC, losing to Adriano Santos, Ben Rothwell, and John Madsen. But he had a very successful, not successful. I was just not successful in Pride, but I was about to say not successful in private. He fought at Affliction and stuff like that, but Man, Affliction, bro. Affliction was so good for a number of years when it was around. So come on, what's going on? So he lost to Uval in 2004 and kept on going upwards, and then got to the UFC in 2006 with a stoppage win over Gilbert Aldana. He then had his first. Is that what I think it is? No, okay. He had his first loss in the UFC against Carmelo Marrero. I've never even heard of that guy's name, but old fighter for wow. Okay, come on, Tapology, what are you doing? And then he actually took on in 2007. He took on Mirko Cro Cop in 2007. Who I believe was probably after his losses, but he came in 25. I think he was coming off some losses in the UFC, but he was able to he defeated Cro Cop. He then lost to Heath Herring, who was a good fighter. Had a bunch more wins, and then stepped up in 2009 to take on Cain Velasquez. I think this was this prior to Cain's title run? I feel like it was prior to Cain's title run. It was, yeah. So Cain was 5-0, and I think this was the first decision of Cain's UFC career. I definitely can be wrong. And he lost to Cain, and then he went in there and he fought Frank Mir at UFC 107 at the end of 2009. He got submitted by Frank Mir by Frank guillotine choke, but that was a really good Frank Mir back in the late 2000s. And he just kind of was at this point he was kind of lurking in the top 10 of heavyweight for a good while. He had a win, and then he had a very close draw against Travis Brown on the UFC 120 card featuring Michael Bisping versus Akiyama. And to be honest, I went back and I watched this fight. I think he clearly won. I think he clearly won that fight. I think he obviously won. I don't know why it was a draw, but Travis Brown wasn't. At the time was 10-0, so I think they were really trying to push Travis Brown. Yeah, I'll never forget the Chael Sonnen the Chael Sonnen interview on ESPN where John Anik like, all right, fact or fiction? Travis Brown will fight for the title in 2014. Chael's like, hey, yeah, can you imagine? And he's like, wait, are we live? He goes, we are live. And he's like, which title? UFC title? Oh, no, it's not fiction. No. Like, oh, no way. It was just funny. And this is when the UFC was really trying to push Travis Brown and become, heavyweight champion. But he had that draw, and then we arrive at the fight with Pat Barry. So we arrive at the fight with Pat Barry, which was definitely a crossroads fight in his career. He came to the fight at a record of 15-6-2, considering the last, let's say, 1-2. At this point in his UFC career, I think he was 1-2, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2, 7-3, 7-4. He was 8-4. So his UFC career was at this time 8-4-1. Not bad, but still. But definitely was at a crossroads type fight, and he got into Pat Barry, and that first round was unlike anything it is gonna go down as the great. It's still in my mind. There's been some great comebacks in recent years. Elvis Brenner recently against Guram, that was a great comeback. There's been a bunch of great comebacks throughout the history of just the UFC, let alone boxing and MMA. But this might be one of the best. Pat Barry he hurt Cheick Kongo like I've never seen a guy get hurt, and he was wobble, hurt on the ground, and Pat Barry was swinging. Eventually, at some point, Cheick found a shot, and he knocked over Pat, and then Pat Barry got flattened, and then Cheick Kongo finished him, and it was over like that. It was, oh my god, it was the craziest thing anyone had ever seen. It was unbelievable. That was on the UFC Versus card. That was one of the early cards for Fox. I believe. I think the Fox deal was or was Versus? I don't think Versus was Fox. And dude, honestly, dude, I remember watching Versus all the fucking time, dude. And this was the co-main between Nate Marquardt versus Anthony Johnson, which was I think got canceled last minute. I feel like they got canceled. Yeah. It got canceled. I think it was last minute. Anthony Johnson had to pull out of a shoulder injury. He probably just wasn't gonna make weight. Oh my God, Matt Riddle was supposed to be on this card. You got to be kidding me. Oh, look who. So this is a back forward. We have on this card at UFC. What was it? UFC on Versus 4 2011. You had Michael Johnson on this card. He won by knockout in the first round. You had the Mercado Lamas, good fighter for a lot of years. He had a knockout over Matt Grease, and then Charles Oliveira was on this card taking on Nick Lentz. The fight ended in the second round due to an illegal knee. I think I sort of remember that. This is when Nick Lentz was like really good. Charles had taken his first loss, but it was unfortunate because the fight was awesome. But this was crazy that Charles Oliveira was literally on this card, man. It's absolutely crazy. He was on this card. He was so young. How young was he? He was 21, dude. 21 years old. That is crazy. He was 14-1. Man, it's nuts. I think it's the only no contest in his career, I think. Joe Lozon had a Kimura submission. Joe Stevenson lost again. Poor guy. You know what? I'm going to put Joe Stevenson. Hold on, guys. I'm going to put him on my fight. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, hold on. We're back. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so then you also had... oh my God, Manigan Burry and Tyson Griffin was on. Matt Matrone had a knockout. Jesus Christ. Is that John Doomsday Howard? That's John Doomsday Howard, man. Oh my goodness. John Doomsday Howard. You gotta be kidding me, dude. John Doomsday Howard. Dude, he still posts stuff all the time on his stuff. He just had a fight this year. Are you kidding me? At BKC. BKFC? Come on, dude. Stop fighting, Doomsday. He lost to Matt Brown. Oh, man, this is a flashback of a card. Rick Story and Charlie Brenneman. Holy shit. Flashbacks, dude. I remember those guys, but holy shit. And this was, honestly, Pat Barry was only 6-2 as a pro. He was pretty, didn't have a big record, but, I mean, one of the greatest comebacks of all time. And, man, what a flashback going back and looking at that card, man. There was some young superstars on that card, that's for sure, man. I mean, obviously Charles Oliveira, pretty much. And then following that win, he had a decision win over Mitrione. And they took on Mark Hunt. And Mark Hunt, Mark Hunt did what Mark Hunt does and put him in the shadow realm, which is what Mark Hunt does. I felt bad for Cheick Kongo. He had no chance in that fucking fight. Then after that loss to Hunt, which I think it was his first knockout loss in MMA. Or no, yeah, he lost to Gilbert Yvel by knockout. That's true. His second, though. First at the UFC. He was then slated to take on Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. That would have been, unfortunately for him against Minotauro, that would have been... that wouldn't have gone down too well. I gotta say, I just gotta say, man, Minotauro these days looks fucking great. I mean, Minotauro looks great. I haven't seen Little Nog, but Big Nog, dude. I mean, bro, Minotauro, he's been doing the the UFC Brazilian broadcasts and stuff. Man, I gotta say, man, Minotauro looks great. He looks fucking awesome. Looks like the shape. The face looks good. He can clean up. He looks like he's fucking a stud. He looks like a stud, man. And he was beat up for a lot of his career with a lot of good fighters. So he took on Sean Jordan instead, defeated him. He then fought Big Country, Roy Nelson. You know what? I'm going to put Roy Nelson on here too, guys. I keep adding guys to my fighter profiles list, but there's a lot of young guys who were the good middle class. I'll get to that later, but we're back, guys. So, he unfortunately had the loss to Roy Nelson in 2013. He then came back with a win. And so actually his fight with Roy Nelson was around the time when a lot of guys were starting to go to Bellator. A lot of guys saw the writing on the wall with the Reebok deal, which a lot of the Reebok deal stuff started formulating from 2013 to 2015. Obviously, 2015 is when it took place. A lot of guys left after the 2014-2015 time because Reebok deal destroyed sponsorships. If you guys want to know more about how the UFC ruined their middle class, which I just referenced, go watch a great YouTube video by Felix Leiterman. I think it's named Felix Leiterman. It's called I think it's called Into the Loneliness. It's about how mixed martial arts started as an actual sport. Talks about the UFC and Pride. It's honestly one of the best MMA videos out there. Period. In my opinion, I think it's one of the most put together and thoughtful MMA videos. Pretty much of all time, because it explains the history, and it only goes up to like 2021 or 2019, but still, it puts you perfectly. You can watch that in 10 years from now and still set you up good for the modern era. If you're a fan starting to watch the sport, either right before COVID or right after COVID, it's the perfect setup, honestly, to learn about the sport. If you are a casual fan and you are watching this, it is a must watch. A must. I cannot stress enough. A must watch to get really involved in the sport. If you end up not liking stuff in the video, you probably shouldn't be an MMA fan, because everything that Felix puts out there is proverbially true. And is fair warning, there's actually quite a few political undertones about the state of the world, not just America, which is, very general, honestly, and very factual, to be honest. But it's not highly political. It's just kind of stating how kind of the world was and how things function over the course of the history of mixed martial arts. So please go watch that if you haven't. If you have, you don't know what I'm talking about. But when that happened, a lot of guys in this middle class, Cheick Kongo, even though he never fought for a world title, he fought a former world champ. Well, he fought a bunch of former world champions. He fought Frank Mir. He fought Cain Velasquez. He fought Crow Cop, who was a champion in Pride. He fought, a number of guys. Mark Hunt fought for a title, and then there's all the other guys. Roy Nelson, Mitrione, Travis Brown. Even Pat Barry, who were with Cheick Kongo a part of not just the heavyweight middle class, but the UFC middle class. And when they got destroyed, he was quickly gone. After his fight with Nelson, he jumped ship to Bellator pretty quickly. And Bellator probably gave him a good amount of money to switch over. They probably were paying him more, honestly. So his first win in Bellator in 2013 at Bellator 102. He then right away won the tournament finals at Bellator 107 against who does he fight? He fought he fought Peter Graham, who Australian guy who was never Peter Graham. I've seen this guy before. He is not a good fighter, dude. The guy's not a good fighter. He was fighting into his late 40s, so. But he was 38 at the time, and Cheick Kongo beat him by decision. This was a tournament, obviously. For some reason, the main event was Chris Jones versus Robert White, but whatever. But yeah, so he beat Peter Graham, and then he lost to he then at Bellator 115 took on because back then you could win the tournament, but there usually was still a champion. So even though he technically won the tournament finals, he wasn't technically champion. Even though Bellator confirms him, even though he got a belt, he was technically he probably got a belt, but he probably didn't get any other things besides that. He then took on Vitaly Damanikov, who was 13-0, undefeated. Who he had a pretty good he had a pretty long career. He finished his career 22-2. He fought most of his career in Fight Nights Global, which is had a lot of good fighters for a lot of years. That's Isaiah. Oh, that's Isaiah. We're going back and forth on it. I did tell him that he got me hyped up for 322, but so I got hyped up for this Cheick Kongo video. But yeah, it was actually his first defense. It's funny. Minikov. God damn it, Tyler! I'm trying to do a video right now. Yeah, I'm still waiting. Okay, hold on. Hold on, guys. One second. My guys, my friend Tyler trying to join Discord thing. He won the tournament finals, and then he defeated Alexander Volkov for the heavyweight title, defending against Cheick Kongo. Yeah, I know, Tyler. I know. Jesus. And then he got back in the win column with a win over Eric Smith and LeVar Johnson. Is that the same LeVar Johnson I think of? Yeah. Heard of him before. So then after that, he had his 2015 showdown with King Mo, baby. King Mo. Also known as Muhammad Lawal. Everyone knows him as King Mo. He did lose that fight by split decision. I went like I watched that fight. It was a good fucking fight. King Mo is, man, I love King Mo. I think King Mo is the only guy to ever finish Yuri Prochazka. If I am correct, I mean he fought at Sonoku Raiden Championship, which was underrated promotion. He fought at Ryzen. He fought at Strikeforce, and he fought at Bellator. He unfortunately never fought in the UFC, which was unfortunate. But in 2019 he got knocked out by Yuri, but his first fight with Yuri, it was 2015. It's funny. He only went back to Ryzen after he beat Yuri for 2 fights. One against Mirko Cro Cop, which he lost in the Grand Prix, and then losing to Yuri by knockout. Hilarious, dude. Freaking hilarious. It's funny. I see for years that Rampage and King Mo still want to box. Man, I love King Mo. Oh, god damn it. But it's funny. Yeah. King Mo's the one knockout loss of Yuri's career came in 2015 against King Mo, first round knockout. I mean, that's King Mo for you, man. I do have a video coming out soon about King Mo. He's great. He's awesome, man. Cheick Kongo got back in there against Alexander Volkov, and he defeated Volkov, former Bellator champion. I think that was one of Volkov's last fights before turning to the UFC. It was actually, or no, he had, he was champion against Minikov, and then and then he had 2 losses against Tony Johnson Jr. and then Cheick Kongo, and then he had 2 wins at M1 Global. Both were for titles, and he won both. And then he got to the UFC against Tim Johnson. Yeah, okay. And then he's been in the UFC ever since. And then you had a bunch of fights with, Cheick Kongo. He kept winning some fights in Bellator. Beat Tony Johnson Jr., beat Augusto Sakai, Jay Ayala. Not Jay Ayala, Javi Ayala. He beat Tim Johnson. He was able to get revenge against Vitaly Minikov and beat him in 2019, and then he had a 2019 contest against Ryan Bader, lost to Tim Johnson in a rematch, and then beat some other guy, and then 2022 had his last fight against Ryan Bader for the title. And this was kind of Cheick Kongo's farewell. It was in Paris. I remember at the time I was sort of keeping a soft eye on Bellator. I remember hearing about this. Oh, cool. And I think at the time, I didn't watch it or anything. I think at the time, I expected Bader to win, and he did. So, after that, Cheick Kongo retired. A career record of 31 wins, 12 losses, and 2 draws. And if you look at the names, I mean, let's just go for some of the names he's gotten. Every time I do these fighter profiles, I haven't been sort of ranking them in terms of like resume level or whatever. Someone else can do that kind of stuff. But at the end of each video, I've been kind of trying to go over the names. I mean, before he got to the UFC, he fought a guy in Gilbert Yvel who, not great, but a solid guy in his time. And then he fought guys like Mirko Cro Cop, Heath Herring, Cain Velasquez, Frank Mir, Travis Brown, Pat Barry, Matt Mitrione, Mark Hunt, Roy Nelson, Big Country, Vitaly Minikov in Bellator, King Mo, Alexander Volkov, Augusto Sakai was, he's still fighting, but he's kind of mediocre. He just lost to KSW. But he fought Ryan Bader. He fought Tim Johnson. I mean, he fought a load of solid guys, and many and many world champion level guys for a lot of years. So he's got a pretty good resume when you look at it. Not one of the best of all time, but definitely solid as hell. So that's gonna do it, guys. Fighter profile on Cheick Kongo. I just wanted to give him some love, and I don't know why I thought I'd make a video of him. I just thought it'd be something cool to make. So, obviously, like, subscribe, do all the stuff. Thank you, guys. We are doing pretty good on the channel. Me and Isaiah appreciate all the support you guys are doing for us. Stay tuned to all new videos we got. We're gonna be freaking pumping out some freaking videos. We're gonna be freaking, man. We're gonna be freaking, we're gonna be, man. We're gonna be freaking cranking. We're gonna be. I know, those old flashlights that you have to go. That's gonna be us, sir. Cranking out videos, man. We're gonna be cranking them out. That's gonna do it, guys. My name is Jake. Let me pull up the other one for Cheick Kongo. There's Cheick Kongo. That's gonna do it, guys. My name is Jake. Thanks for watching, and remember, the greatest fighters always leave it all in the final round. See you guys.